Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you very much for joining us in another edition of Viewpoint on DBS Television. We are still within the context of the campaign against violence against women that is running for 16 days, and in today's edition we are trying to find out if there is any reason why women should be violated upon, be it in any form, be it physical, be it mental, be it psychological. We are trying to find out whether there are justifications to that. And to talk about this, we are having a wellness coach, the founder of Humanity at Heart International, Evelyn Tata Maya. It's not the first time that we're receiving her when it concerns issues to women. She is always around or making herself available in order to contribute in educating and sensitizing the population. Maya, good evening and thank you very much for being there again.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you for having me once again, and good evening to all the technicians that are making this possible as well.
Greetings. It's a special one. A lot of people, it's the first time that our technicians have been greeted upon. And at the back of the console, we are having Nicola Olomo and McDonald Tombo. Special greetings from Maya. Mange Venashus, good evening and welcome.
Vanessa, good evening, and good evening to our viewers, especially to women who undergo violence in one form or the other.
Especially to women, anyway.
Yes, that's what I say,
especially.
Yes.
Let us take the first part of the show. And since we are talking about domestic violence on women, we are asking, is there any justification? Maya, do you think there's any justification of violence on women?
Well, Vanessa, I don't think there is a justification, even though people always think there is a justification, but I do not think that there's a justification for violence.
Mange Venashus, as the man.
That's why I was saying that when you face two women, your voice will be, very subdued, if not completely
but your
crushed.
Opinion counts.
Yes, and my opinion is still there of the fact that I sit on the fence. There is a justification, as there may not be a justification depending on the context.
Depending on the context, that is yes and no. And in the second question, are there any consequences in a family where domestic violence takes place? Venashus.
Yes, Vanessa, there are.
Yes. Maya, are you of the same opinion?
Yes, there are.
Yes, there are. Stay tuned. Coming up next is the debate. We are still in the campaign of violence against women, in trying to find out if there is any justification. Maya, you think that there is no justification for violence against women? But now we know that violence, most people, when they get of violence or when they hear of violence, they think that it's just the physical action of punching a woman, but it's far beyond that.
Absolutely, Vanessa. Violence is not just being physical. Violence, you have emotional, you have verbal violence, you have isolation, you have a lot of stuff going behind the violence. Just like we have said, when people talk about violence, people just go straight to physical violence. But in essence, we have emotional violence that might be more dangerous than the physical part of the violence.
Really?
Because when you are emotionally traumatized, it can take longer to heal than just having some bruises over your body. So violence is a whole lot. And doing that against women is another whole lot of stuff going on. Because I think that we need to protect our women in all aspects of life. I always say that women are the pillars of our society. They're the pillars of a home. So when you begin to be violent against somebody you should be protecting, that is out of line. So our women should be protected. So there is nothing you would justify that this woman was so rude and I had to be physical, I had to do this. No, there is no justification to that. Actually, when you have women around you, we know that women are a bit talkative. We know that women are a bit stubborn. But that also helps you to have self-control. If you can be able to maintain self-control around a woman, then you are a tough guy.
Yeah, you're a tough guy because some women are so provocative to an extreme.
Absolutely. I'm putting that into context because I'm a woman as well. That is why I'm saying that you should not justify that the woman was rude or the woman got on your nerve, like we always say, on my last nerve. So it doesn't justify the fact that you become so violent. Most of the men equally push those women to retaliate. And in essence, you have your own self to blame because when you, like I made mention of emotional violence, there is something we call the male privilege. I think I was just talking with Venatius. When you begin to say, I'm the man of the house, I am the head of this family, you obey me. Like in my culture, they always say, I paid your bride price from head to toe. So you need to do what I want you to do.
Me.
And when you want to go out, you are being under control. They monitor every move you are taking. That becomes more emotional. You are emotionally being violated. And because of that, you are also pushed to retaliate. You become stubborn. Even the Bible teaches women to be respectful and submissive. I always say it's the other way around. If a man loves a wife or a woman, submission becomes an automatic thing. So you don't need to force it. So the more you push the woman, the more the woman to retaliate, and that results to domestic violence.
Now, Maya, let us go a little bit further. I would like to look. There are certain, I will not say culture, but there are certain aspects in the society where the woman thinks that when the man beats her, when the man physically violates her, it's an act of love.
Yeah, I've heard that
What
a
do you
lot.
think about that?
I've heard that a lot, and that's kind of funny. I remember a lady in India that went viral. The lady said the man is too nice, so she's filing for a divorce. It's kind of funny because that is what we should be having in homes that are peaceful, homes that are joyful. If you feel comfortable being beaten upon, then you yourself, you are, I don't know how to term you because it's out of this life. For people always quote that, no, some women like to be beaten. What if you are being wounded? What if you land in the hospital? What lesson are you teaching your own children that might get married in homes that are not like yours? So when you are thinking of this thing, you think of not just you think of the children you are raising. Because each time a child sees a father get violent on their mother, some of them might end up being bullies. Some of them might keep it in mind, and when they get married in the future, they want to also retaliate. They want to give back what they learned when they're growing up. So it's not just about you as a person, whether you enjoy the beating or not, but what about your children around?
But what about your children? Thank you very much, Maya. She thinks that there is no justification for violence on women. Mangavena shoes, you are on the fence. Yes, there is, and no, there is not.
Yes, Vanessa, I begin with yes, there is. Because when I say yes, there is, every human being, has an emotion. There is no human being who was born to be mouthy. There was no human being who was born to be naive. There was no human being who was born to nag. Men also can be nagging, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's not as if only women has this monopoly to nag. In our African culture, when we grew up, we knew that women, like the Bible says, supposed to be submissive. I am not saying that women should be naive. I'm not saying that women should be suppressed. But in our African culture, just like in most Judeo, Christian background, religious backgrounds, women were not like seen in the foreground. Women were always behind. It's not to say that they were second-class citizens. No. That is the way the society was. That is why in most biblical stories, you hear of 500 men as if women were not there. Most biblical stories, a woman caught in adultery, a woman alone does not commit adultery. She was certainly with a man. And when you hear most of the cases, you hear they talk of a woman who was a prostitute. She was not prostituting with another woman. She was prostituting with another man, with a man. But in these cases, what I want to draw out here is a man, culturally speaking, is the head of the family. That is a fact. Because we cannot have two captains in a ship who sink the ship. There must be a captain and there is a core captain or a core pilot. Now, in a family setting, when you misinterpret your role your function, you get into the, the path, or into the way, or into the roles, or into the function of another person, of another partner. It is just like in every society, in every workplace. The definition of, your job description. If you go out of your job description, you infringe into another person's, line of operation, and it will create friction. That is in the family circle. The man remains the man, the woman remains a woman. In most of these cases where there are friction, where there is violence, and I like the way Maya saw it, violence is not only physical, like we say, there is emotional violence, there is psychological violence. And I will tell you that because women are too, they talk a lot, there are men who are being violated in their own homes by women, and we don't hear them. Psychological violence that men go through in their homes, you may not imagine. Emotional violence that men go through in their homes, you may not imagine, because the man will not go out and stand and tell you that my wife was beating me. Or will not go and stand and tell you. Sorry if I'm laughing at this, because it is funny.
It's funny.
Yeah,
it's
also
funny
what I mean.
It is more rampant with the women.
That is what I mean. But
and like
the reality,
said, the men are the strongest sex.
Of course.
So they have this upper hand
to resist.
over women to
resist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I will say that there is no human being who was born, because I like what Maya said. Maya said if you are able to contain the nagging nature of a woman, if you are able to contain the naivety of a woman, because at times women behave exactly like children, I'm sorry, because what you do, you tend to ask yourself, does it tie with the age? And according to you people, a man should be a man to accept it, digest it. He too has an emotion. He too has, he gets angry too, like a woman. But I think that after all this, when we put all this, you see that the physical violence, the psychological violence, the emotional violence, if not, I will go to financial violence, where women exert financial. Vanessa, we've had men who go out and practically not return home because the wife said, you must bring food to this house today. It's true. The man is a breadwinner of the house. But some women are of the opinion. That's why they keep telling you that if you want peace to reign in your home, this is a counsel I read from somewhere. Don't have money, something like money. Don't have money in a couple, which means I don't have my own money. My wife does not have her own money. It is the family money. In as much, because most women that we have today, somebody said the Android women, her money is for her upkeep, for her family. Then my own money is for our upkeep, our family, and then my own siblings too, and my own family. But I'm responsible for you. I'm responsible for your parents, for your brothers and sisters, for our children, for our home. But your own money, it is for you, your hair and your telephone, and then for your family. In that case, friction will automatically reign, because there's no way we can do about it. Like I was saying, nobody has the monopoly, to control anger. In as much as what will determine a man will be that ability to absorb and digest that nagging attitude of a woman. A woman should be one too, who should be able, because marriage is not all about, not a bed of roses. There are challenges in marriage, and once it comes, I remember my mother used to insist, telling my elder sisters, what makes you a woman is when you are able to accept the challenges of marriage. Remember, I'm saying challenges of marriage. I'm not saying violence in marriage. No. Challenges in marriage is there are difficulties. You will not expect that your wife, your husband will provide for your need every time it arises. There are times that you want and he does not have it. You will not send him to go and steal. But we have had women who have pushed their men to the extreme because they want it. Another comes from a competition. I saw my friend, a woman, wearing this. I also want to wear this. I also want to do this.
And so thereby mounting pressure
on the woman. And that's why when I talk of psychological violence, emotional violence, financial violence, all this, few women would be strong enough to lay down. Vanessa, I know of women who have been, I used to say, beating their husbands. And the man will not behave, like Maya was saying, to be man enough to, avoid it. They will tell us men that when a woman starts out her nagging attitude, leave the house. 5-10 minutes, she will calm down, and then you come back to the house. But there are extremes that you may not even find yourself being able to. I'm not justifying it, but I'm saying that real life situations. You find yourself, you are saying, this is the right thing that they are supposed to do. The woman wants it this way. if you will not even go as far as physical violence, but you will go to emotional violence, you will go to psychological violence, because she is pushing you to maybe say something that you did not intend to say it. It may hurt, yes,
or maybe react, giving her a deaf ear for one
correct
thing,
and then she interprets it that
you.
she now takes it as that's the emotional violence. So most of these things put together, you see that there is a justification somewhere, but all in all, being a man, that's the other side of the answer now. Being a man does not give you the monopoly, because we men will always say, I am the man. I am the man. They used to tell us that the woman is the minister of territorial administration of every home. She's the general manager of the home. The man owns a house, and the woman owns the home. The home. Yes. So if you give that woman that assurance that this is your house, she manages the house. If you give the woman that you are just like part of my, like she was saying, I direct you everything, you are just like part of my Frenchman calls les biens. You are just part of my property. Then she's not different from a cupboard. She's not different from the bed. She's not different from the chair. So she would not be part of that house. Give her the house, and she will run that house, and it will become a home for you. But when we think that it is because I am a man, I am the one who dictates in this house. Remember that in as much as you are a man, you cannot take the nagging of a woman. I remember one old woman asked me the question, are you not also at fault? Don't you think too that you also do things that your wife can be angry? It's not because we are men that we have the monopoly to be angry, right? Because a woman did this. There are also things that we men do that pushes women to be angry, and perhaps will now behave like she was saying, which means we then talk because we did it. Whereas if you did the other way around, maybe she would not have gone there. So I think that when it comes to violence at home, they can justify it as well as we cannot justify it. But then everything, it comes from, you should be able to dialogue, talk it over. Because violence, because they say, once emotion comes in here, once you cover it up, once the day it will explode, no amount of, or whatever, nothing will hold it. In as much as you talk it, you release it, you let it go. The only thing is, in a family, in a couple, once there is dialogue and sincere dialogue, yes, we will be coming to, a compromise. I should be able to look at my wife and tell her that this thing that you did, yes, I know the blame game. Yes, I'd come to her and tell her that this thing you did it, I am not happy with you. If I just go quiet, I am building it inward, and when it will explode, I may go from emotional, psychological, perhaps, to violence. Or physical. Physical, actually, yes.
Thank you very much, man Gavin Ashus. Ladies and gentlemen, let us take this second part of the show, or the question: are there any consequences in a family where domestic violence takes place? Maya, you think that there are. So how can domestic violence affect the running of an entire family?
Well, I just want to pick up from where Mr. Mange ended. When you have a good dialogue, when you can be able to dialogue well in a home, I think the home is going to run well. But like we were talking before, violence goes with physical, it goes with verbal, it goes with sexual abuse, it goes with
that's another one.
The male part, like he was saying, I'm the head of the home. It goes with control. You want to control everything around you. Where were you? Where are you coming from at this time of the night? Who is calling you at this hour? You are in charge. So when you begin, like I had made mention that if you have children around, they're the first people that will suffer the consequences. That is emotional violence. They will end up being traumatized.
Because at times, at the end of it all, it leads to separation.
Absolutely. It might not actually lead to separation, but just know that what you are sowing. Imagine that you get up at the middle of the night, you are beating your wife because of sexual abuse. Let me put it that way. Women are wired in such a way that they are kind of slow to sexuality. Let me put it like that. And if you are that kind of a man that you wake up at any time of the day or in the night, you just want to have sex, and then your wife is not ready for that, and you result into abuse, and you are shouting in the middle of the night, and your children come out to ask, Dad, Mom, what is happening? What will you explain to the children? That what is actually happening with you and your wife. You see, and if they happen to know what has happened, you might see these children ending up raping the other people in the near future because they saw that do it to their mom. And if the father goes physical, they will turn up to be bullies. They might be frightened. You will see them not even able to do their homework because that has already stuck in their brains. They're traumatized. They go to school, they're ashamed of themselves. That you as a man, when you even go physically violent on your wife, the next day your wife is going to work. Imagine that you are abused or you are being violated, Vanessa, and you arrive here with bruises on your face. You are putting out some dark shades on your eyes. The first question would
which is not usual.
What happened?
Which is not usual.
Were you being stung by a bee or something? How are you going to explain to your colleagues? Already your self-esteem is low. You are feeling ashamed of yourself. You are even wondering if you are going to go back home.
Or thinking how you leave the house, neighbors will look at you.
Absolutely. And when you arrive home, as soon as a man gets in, you feel like you should just strangle him. The violence never ends. Because you are just angry always. You are stressed out. You become less productive. You know, like it might even extend to your own family. You see your family coming in. Say, if you are always going to beat our child, we should take our child. That's already separation in marriage. Would you like to see your children grow up in a divorced home? I always say that there's a saying that it's sweet potato that allowed it to be eaten raw. So from the beginning of your dating, your courtship, and all the rest, I think if you come into the marriage lifestyle, you see that you have a lot to be learning. We are two different people from two different backgrounds. You need to know who I am. I need to know who you are. There is no way we will ever be the same. But it's just I need to tolerate you entirely, to know your weaknesses and your strength. And when you see these things, let me just quote an example. There's another violence that is psychological, like he was saying, mentally. I am more educated than my spouse as a woman. Maybe I'm working as a big lady, I'm a director of something. And you are maybe a laborer in the field. I'm not complaining. I got married to you as a laborer, meaning I loved you the way you were. But you, the man, you start feeling intimidated. Insecure. And for you to overshadow that your insecurity, you might just jump out of my workplace and just shout, Maya, come out here for people to know that I'm your wife. You know, that I will obviously feel offended because you are like disgracing me in front of my own colleagues. It's not cancelling the fact that I'm your wife. That you are traumatizing me emotionally. And that's how the love keeps dropping. And anything you are going to say in the house, I will just be rude. I will be harsh, and I will also provoke you, and that will be a continuous
process.
I like what Venasius was saying. We know that men do suffer emotionally because we nag. But let me tell you that this thing comes just from you people. We want to retaliate with your actions. If you keep being so controlling, no woman would like to be so controlled. Just let the woman be like you said. This is your home, run it. Let it run. So it has a lot of effect on the children, on you yourself, on the family, your neighbors, everybody. Because when you are fighting in your house, your neighbor will not be sleeping.
Of course. Just the case that off-camera Venasius was telling us. Manga Venasius, what are some of those consequences on the family?
Vanessa, Maya was talking about the issue of what children take from their parent. I grew up, I never knew that you can touch a woman. Because actually I left my parents around 24, around 24. Till today, I don't think that they've ever had, I was of the opinion that they never had differences. Because I've never heard, hear them, disagree. I've never heard them. But that is what we grew up with, to know that you don't touch a woman. You don't touch a woman. But then in a house where at every moment people are already running and gathering to come and separate a fight between you and your wife, your child is seeing. That child grows up to know that this is what they do with a woman. And it is a kind of a citizen you are already building for the future. Here it has an impact on that child's life. The child does not know the respect they give to a human being. In as much as we men, we complain the nagging nature of women, there is this thing that you have to understand. If you are, like they say, if you are the leader of the house, if you are the head of the house, because we like this term, I'm the head of this family. If you are the head of this family, when it comes to finances, when it comes to behavior, when it comes to, you know, doing things, you should also be head when it comes to being intelligent, having that ability to manage your emotions. You should also be head, because you should lead by examples. So, but when we forget and slip into the secondary role of also being led emotionally, to react, to be violent, you're already telling your wife that, you know, you don't command that position. You not debase yourself for her to start, you know, trying to fight the question of leadership with you. Maya was saying something about financial issues in the family. We have women who are well placed. It is, you know, abnormal for a man to get up in the morning and ask the wife, please give me my taxi money, my transport money. When we do like that,
it's not actually abnormal.
It's not abnormal.
The question of abnormality here is, of course, she's my wife. Her money is my money.
Women will willingly do that, give transport fare to their husbands.
Her money is my money.
No.
The problem comes from when I start asking. For me to ask, and I know that
it's normal. A man could ask.
When I'm asking, and you know that you have to give me the money, and you remove the money and give me and gives me, is different. But when it comes to a situation where
you will not generalize it. That is you, Maya. We have come to the end of the show. All right, Maya. What could you advise these men then? These men who because we often hear of men violating their women. The men do not speak up. If they were speaking up, probably would have been talking of violence committed on men.
Of course, there are many.
We are talking mostly about violence on women. I always say women are a treasured being. That's why we keep. You can gobble it up as a man, but when you touch a woman, it's like you have touched the heart of humanity. Like we are doing this 16 days activism against women's violence. It's not like men are not violated, but with the women in society, you know that you have a stable society, you have a productive society. So the only advice I will advise the men out there, stop being violent on your women. And if you have been violated as a woman, there's a healing procedure. You can go to a counselor. You can do gardens like
or meet a wellness coach like you.
Absolutely, we are doing 1 billion rising to plant rising gardens where if you are violated, you know, have a connection with plants. It heals. Do a small garden around you, water it, and look at it as it is growing. It's as if it's a child in your home that you are making it grow. So that if your wife is making you angry or your husband is making you angry, tend to your plant. Look at it. And you are just joyous.
Thank you very much, Evelyn Tatamaya, for coming.
Thank you.
It has been very instructive. Mangavena should equally thank you for your contributions.
Thank you, Vanessa, and I hope that women would understand too that men are violated.
Equally as women will understand, let the men equally understand that they need to treasure their wives or their women because they are the builders of the society. They are the weaker vessel that needs to be protected by these men. That said, we draw the curtains into the show. Thank you very much for watching and see you tomorrow.